According to the Australian Institute of Criminology, at least 30,000 Australians go missing each year, some of whom are found alive and well. Others are found much later, not so well. This is the case of Major Frederick Hovenden, who came to Australia with wealth and along the way lost that wealth through his own faults, swindled perhaps. Either way, the man lost his wealth and ended up homeless. There are many homeless in Australia too. But back in the 1840s, there wasn't so many places that a homeless person could go, and there wasn't people to help. Although there were some places he was able to stay, some friends, he was the kind of man who didn't want to burden anyone with his troubles. He had some friends, and they looked after him as best they could when he was with them. But one day he set out in the Blacktown, Bungarabie area, and he was never seen of again alive. This is a story of Major Hovenden, and we investigate his last moments before he became lost in the Bungarabie bush and died of starvation. It's a sad story, but not perhaps a singular case. The man was found with various possessions, some which he'd been given by other people, and his hat, which stated his last words. Frederick Hovenden died of hunger.
Hey, we're back. We're down here at the area of Bungarabie House where we've been before. This site has become interesting to us again, and hopefully to you. There was a story of a guy named Major Frederick Hovenden. This bloke had some money. Cut a long story short, he invested badly, gambled, I don't know, but he ended up without anything, nowhere to stay basically. So he walked from Sydney City, which is about 30 kilometres, 25-30 kilometres to here, and he ended up in this area, in this bushland area over to my right, and he was found. Basically, he had a note on him that said he starved to death. That's written by him. He was quite an eccentric sort of bloke, so I don't know whether he...
Wasn't it scratched into his hat?
I'm not sure, something like that. It was it was in his hat, I believe. It was in his cap or something they found. But basically the bloke had been there for quite some time. It was in this bushland, like I say, and the Bungarabie house, if you go back in our channel and you can see the videos we did there, is as the crow flies directly over there, about 1 kilometre approximately, or say half a mile. So anyway, he was found, but when he was found, there was only bones left. He'd
partially eaten,
and he'd been chewed on by dogs, probably some sort of native dog, like a dingo or a hybrid of. And he had a few bits and pieces on him. He had a comb, ivory handled comb, I believe, and a cane. Anyway, the story is that he has haunted this particular area, this vicinity, ever since. And this was in the 1840s, I believe, early 1840s that it happened. I'd have to double check, but if I'm wrong, I'm sure the missus will put that up on the screen.
And he starved to death.
Yeah. So they found him, he'd been chewed on and everything else, and they said he had a bulbous head. I don't know about that, but they reckon he had a big head. So that's how
unusually large, wasn't it?
Unusually large. So that's
how they identified.
They were able to identify him, or people that knew of him. So it's a sad story. Yeah. Apparently he's gone, and he's been known to, when Bungarabie House was there, which was eventually knocked down in 1957, but earlier than that, he'd been known to haunt that area, which is pretty much covering this whole area here. So we don't know exactly where the bloke was found, But you know, it could very well be anywhere here. We've picked this particular spot here just because it was somewhere to start, and we will more than likely continue the investigation at another point and move our way around this bush line here to try to make some sort of communication, and if we can, see what we can find. You know, just come here overnight when we can, and we'll see if we can contact Major Hovenden. So I've got the paranormal science toolkit out here, and I thought, maybe I should. Got the K2 meter over here. It's not
Get
really
right on it
doing.
because it's not very...
Alright, it's not really doing much, the old K2 there at the moment, but what I was thinking is maybe I can, maybe I should go for an EVP. So what we'll do is we'll just ask, we'll try and get some recording, try and be quiet as we can, and just ask if Major Hovenden, or for that matter anyone else who's in this area, would like to say something. Here's your chance. Please come and say something and speak to us. Major Hovenden. Frederick Hovenden.
We understand you starved in this vicinity and you were found sometime later.
Can you say where you were found exactly? Can you pinpoint in some way, in something that we could use to try to find that spot? Let me just stop this for a sec.
Let's see if we've got anything.
Let's take an audio recording anyway and see what we can find here. I wanted to see if I can contact Major Frederick Hovenden. If you can hear me, or anyone who's passed over to the other side can hear me, could you speak into this device I'm holding in my hand? You don't have to get very close to it. Say something in there, anything you like really. But I'd like to particularly reach out to Major Hovenden. I don't think anyone's done anything to contact you before, and if that's something that you would consider you would like to respond to, that'd be nice to hear from you, or anybody. Here's your opportunity. Is anyone who'd like to say anything? Let's see what happens.
No. The
Well,
K2 was moving a little bit.
was it?
Yeah, it's a bit far for me to zoom in. Like, it's just not very clear from here.
We'll give it another go. We'll go for a walk up there, I think.
Yeah, maybe a different location.
Yeah, we'll go for a walk
We're
up there.
quite close to the houses here.
Yeah, we'll go for a wander up the banks here, and we'll have a look and see what we can find.
Quite a moonlit night. It's still very dark. Major Frederick Hovenden, if you'd like to talk to us, feel free to say something. Tell us how how you came to be walking around in the Bungarabie bushland by yourself and starving. Could you not find a homestead, Bungarabie homestead, to find people and find some shelter and food? It's sad that you were lost out here and starving. But feel free to talk to us. Is that too bright?
Probably.
It's a little bit bright for this area, but this is what we're working with. A couple of poles and bushland out there. A couple of houses on the other side. Unfortunately, due to the weather, the bushland's really thick. We can't get into it. But I'll turn this off. Now we're in complete night. We've got the K2 over there. See if maybe Frederick Hovenden wants to make contact, or anybody else wants to make contact. Oh yeah? Yeah, unfortunately there's a pond over there they would be residing in. Oh, I think one just bit my hand. When they bite me I drop the camera, I'm sorry. Do you want to grab the K2 and move along? Oh, you're still happy to...
No.
Eating?
I better grab it.
Alright. So as you can see, it's quite thick beyond this point. But this area here used to be all bushland, and Frederick Hovenden may have come through this area in search of food and shelter, and unfortunately found neither. And unfortunately for Major Hovenden, he lost his life in the bushland of Bungarabie, and it's known he etched into his hat or one of his possessions that he died of starvation. So even just before he died, he was able to tell us the cause of death.
Here we are back at the site of the old Bungarabie homestead. And it's to mention about Major Hovenden. He was a character who was at one point, we believe, somewhat well off, you know, but not so much as a poor man, who back in the day, back in the 1800s, the late 1800s, well, the sort of after mid 1800s, he'd left Sydney City on a journey up, which was the Western Road, which is now the Great Western Highway, and he'd made it all the way out here to the Eastern Creek area and to the homestead of Bungarabie, where he was allowed to lodge. They took him in. Sketchy circumstances as to why and how it was that he was to come to the homestead, and also to if it was Thomas Isley, I'm not sure, we'll have to correct that, but there's very little about the story, very little about the man and the journey, but he was allowed to stay at the homestead for a period of time, and because he was a proud man, it turned out that he felt as though he didn't want to overstay his welcome, and I guess he was an independent type of a character, and so he ended up
saying, look, I appreciate your hospitality and allowing me to stay at the homestead at the Bungarabie house, but I feel like it's time I moved on and figured out other lodgings. And I believe, from what we can gather from the information that we've been able to find, he was planning to head west, further west. Anyway, so beyond these houses over here, it was all very much bushland. There was plains where these houses are here was like an open plain that led down to bushland, and as it were, he'd left the homestead and he had made it to this bush area, possibly to spend the night or camp for a period of time. And as it happened, he died there. He was found a period of time later, and he was certainly had been dead for some time. But it's the unfortunate end to a man who was in all sense, in all purposes, what we believe was quite an honourable character, a military man, army man, and unfortunately, if he'd not been so proud or not been so willing to just leave the premises when he did, well, you would have hoped that he would have been able to find a way to guarantee accommodation for himself and not end up lonely and evidently dying alone down to the back of this area here now, which was once the bushland at the back of the property of Bungarabie House. So it's a sad ending to Major Hovenden, but he is a worthy mention, and even though we don't have a lot of information on him, we felt it important that we at least make reference to him and put it out there so that his name can be remembered, and quite possibly his name and his story can be looked into further by somebody who may be able to find more information than we did. Vale, Major Hovenden.
Major Hovenden, we're here at Bungarabie Park, just wanting to see if you want to come through here because you spent some time here before wandering off in the thick bush, not wanting to be a burden on anyone any longer. Just want to put this K2 meter up and see if you'd like to communicate, as this was one of the places that you spent time at. Would you like to let us know if you're here? If your spirit is still here? Unfortunately, we don't know the location of where you were found. It's not mentioned anywhere. We thought maybe you'll say something here because it was one of the spots that you spent time at before you died. Do you still haunt this place, Major Hovenden? Major Frederick Hovenden? Are any other spirits here at Bungarabie Homestead willing to come forward and touch that device? Maybe we'll try another device.
Try the necrophonic app.
Yeah.
Just see if we can possibly contact Major Hovenden. Okay, here we go.
aeroplane going over, it's so noisy.
Anyone who was living or who was involved with the Bungarabee house. Would you like to say anything?
Neighbours. Some people walking around.
Stand by. Please contact us here through this device. Is there something you'd like to say? We're just going to try this app out here, the Miracle Box. Haven't had a lot of luck with this, but we'll give it a go anyway. We're here to respectfully ask if anybody from Bungarabee House or Major Hovenden, for instance, is he able to speak to me through this particular device? Major Hovenden, Thomas Isley, anybody involved with the Bungarabee house, you can see us and use the energy from this device here. Would you like to speak? Please speak to us now. Make your presence known.
Yes, you.
Major Hovenden, is there something you could say that I would know that it was you or anyone that we'd be able to identify? Something, anything? Major Hovenden, or anybody involved with the Bungarabee house, could you please make your presence known? Could you please use this device to say something? I'm trying to contact you. Is there something you can say to us that we would be able to identify?
The hat?
Maybe. We will have to go through this particular app's what it's giving us here after post this, so we can go through it carefully and find out. So someone we can speak to, something you can say that would give us an opportunity to know who we are, who we're speaking with. Use the energy from this device and this particular app. Is there something you can say to us that we would be able to identify with? Okay, well, we'll just go through. What we'll do is we'll go into the necrophonic. We'll try this once more. So we're trying to contact somebody who was here in this house back in the day, pre-1900.
The Campbells?
The Campbells, Thomas Isley, Major Hovenden, or anybody else. Give us something that we can identify, that we can identify that when speaking to you. Something you'd like to say? Hello? Who are we speaking to? Is there something you can say that I'd understand? That I could identify that I'm actually speaking to somebody tied to this place?
Australia's most haunted site.
Potentially, yeah. Is anybody there that wants to say something?
On this full moon.
Yeah, on the full moon night. Can you tell us your name? Can you say your name? Can you say my name? What's this place known as? What are your ties here? Do you have good memories from this place? Or not so much? Major Hovenden? Are you here? Can you speak to us through this? Use the energy of this phone, if you can. Give us a sign. Give us a word. To us here. Is there somebody that was talking to us here? Can you say your name? Anything, your name, the area, the house? Something we can identify. Is it good or evil? Spirits around you, good or evil? Can you tell us?
Sounds like a lot of talking.
There's a lot there. Can you tell us if there's good or evil here? Just tell us that. Are you trapped? What's your name?
Fred?
Who is it?
Frederick Hovenden?
Frederick Hovenden?
What happened to you, Fred?
What became of you when you left this homestead? You didn't make it far from here. Why? What were you trying to do? Were you trying to head to the Blue Mountains? Why did you leave? What's your name? Is it you? Who is it? Now's your chance.
Tell your story.
We're trying to document. We want to listen. If you can give us your name, we can put your name out. Do you want to be known? We may have some information out of this. We have to look at it, obviously, when we get back. And
Yeah.
There's something in this. I'm not sure what. What else? Anything else? A lot of people lived and died in these grounds. Are you one of them? With the police. We had to have something there. We'll have a look, but I hope you can hear us.
We'll take a couple of photos, see if it pops up in the pictures. You can't follow us if we were here. A couple of times the K2 was flickering, yeah. Shows up. Because there's no trees really, is there, in here?
No.
So it's not really anything that could be picking up.
Dark coming back down there a bit because it jumps around a bit. We're trying to find if anybody is able to show themselves here.
Frederick, can you pop into frame?
If you can
On request.
If you can do it. Yeah, just stick your head in.
Wave, give a wave.
I'll come around this end.
See if it picks up the trees anyway. Doesn't look like it is.
No, I think with the if you put the sensitivity right up, I believe it will then, but you see it's picking it up there, so the sensitivity would be too high. But okay, so hang on. Can capture something here. Not much luck, I don't think. It'll just be that they don't want to reveal themselves, don't they?
Yeah, I noticed with this place, I mean, there's so much about this being one of the most haunted places in Sydney.
Yeah.
I mean, when the house was here, it was the most haunted house.
Yes.
And Monte Cristo has taken that over because they knocked it down.
Let me try something else. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, but maybe it's just at the point where they just don't want to
communicate anymore.
Maybe they don't.
Maybe they've had enough.
That they don't really want to reveal anything.
It's strange for somewhere so haunted, and we've been here a couple of times now.
Yeah. Then there is stories.
All I've had is a bit of a whisper.
They've had stories
and
about the
a little bit on the spirit box.
Yep.
The last time we were here in the dark.
And they've had many stories about this place.
Yeah. And Frederick's added to it, you know.
Yep.
We didn't even know about Frederick Hovenden when we were first here. We've researched the area again and found out about him. It's not much about him.
That's right.
So we wanted to talk about him.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's worthy of a mention. I just was saying that just before because there isn't much about him, and he seems like he was an admirable sort of a guy.
Yeah, well, he was a major. You'd think there'd be more about it.
And he was a decent guy. I think he had the best intentions, and he didn't. I don't believe he wanted to necessarily die, but he didn't want to overstay his welcome. He didn't want to seem like he was in the way, I guess, by staying here and then choosing to leave when he did.
And it would have been thick kind of bushland.
There would have been plains over the back here with those houses. Then they went into the bushland, where he decided whether or not he decided to take up camp. We're not having a lot of luck with this. But you know, I believe he could have been hoping to start, you know, he might have been wanting to go and set up a camp for a little while on his journey, you know. But, you know, unfortunately, he's, you know, it was, as it is, he's ended up that, you know, this LiDAR is probably a little bit too advanced I don't think we're going to really get much out of that if we haven't got anything out of anything else.
My camera's struggling to see it.
Yeah, right. Well, hang on. We'll just try for an EVP.
Yeah. Didn't have too much luck on the other side either.
This one here might put out a word for us. Can somebody that is in this area say something to us? Give us a sign, give us a word. Use this particular device, my hand, to produce a word, something. We're looking for Major Hovenden, but we're happy to speak to anybody with ties to this place. And if you could say something to us, we can document it.
Use.
Ooh. What did that say? Used. Or yes. It's very deep and sinister.
Use. Okay, so that's what it was. So okay, so this particular one, I feel.
It's not an EVP. It just sends it out.
But it picks up through all its, well, however it does it with its frequencies, etc. So you've said the word use. What else can you tell us? Something else we can document here. Something that we can possibly identify you, or at least identify that we've contact with someone. Is there something that you can say to us using this device? If you can manipulate it, try to, please.
Looks funky anyway.
Yeah.
It's got all the alphabets there, and
if you can somehow say something to us, it doesn't matter what it is, just so we know that we're in contact with somebody. Please use this device in my hand, manipulate it as you can. This is your opportunity to tell us something about this place, Bungarraby Homestead, the rich history here, which is very nearly...
And rich tragedy.
Well, rich in tragedy too, and it's very nearly... Well, it's 194 years ago, as of this year, that the house was built.
Yeah, and the tragic story around
and it began,
the owners.
Yeah, and it wasn't long after, as we know, and as if you look at our other video and that, you get a good insight into this. It's a very, very interesting story, and it's one that should be known.
Yeah.
And it's possibly... Well, it is underrated. There's not enough about this place.
Oh, it's a shame it was knocked down in the first place.
Very much so. It should never have been.
Get a lot more interest if it was still here. But
I mean, it was something that the people that built these particular houses around here did what they did, because I mean, it's not the best tribute in the world, but it is one. It is one all the same. And without it, there'd be nothing.
Yeah.
And without videos like the ones that we've made, there'd be nothing. So they're worthy of a look. If you want to learn about history, that's what the channel's all about. And everybody gets their information wherever they get it. None of us were there, so you know what? There's other information about that maybe we didn't know, maybe another person knows. Constructive criticism is always welcome, but we don't put up with unnecessary,
no nastiness,
blatant bloody, putting anyone down. So just remember that.
Yeah, we will remove comments that aren't kind.
Yeah, that's right. And if you want to, and if you think you can do it better, you better make your own channel.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of effort that goes into it that Annette does, and she'll leave no stone unturned, in her pursuit. Not having much
relentless.
luck here.
All right, we'll switch that one off.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, we got a good 20 minutes of trying. But
That's right.
ghosts don't really perform on request most of the time anyway, so
No, that's fine.
that's all right. We'll just keep going to these places and checking them out, and if something's haunted and it makes itself known, well, that's perfect. But we're here for the history as well, not just the paranormal.
Let's try one thing here with the EMF.
Oh, yeah.
Got it on here.
Another colourful apparatus.
So, if Major Hovenden or anyone that was involved with this house, could you please speak into the device in my hand? Say whatever you feel like saying, and that way we can identify at least somebody who was present here tonight. Is somebody here, and can they say something into this device in my hand? If you can tell us your name, or you can say one of our names, or where we are, please do. Just come right up to this device in my hand and talk directly into it.
Give it a listen back.
We'll do it at home, I think, Wes. That way we can get rid of the noise pollution here. We'll check that out at home and we'll put it back up.
All right. Okay, Homestead. Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Just a little extra.
Nothing on the old K2, but I wasn't really looking at it.
On cue.
Yeah, no, that's it. You gotta.
You know, so
We'll take a couple of photos before we go and see if we can.
Aussie made.